LeBron James have to be a finished product. I specifically used the word improved, elevate. You got to show me there's progress. In other words, D'Angelo Russell, I don't want to see you in chill mode. I don't want to see you lounging on the basketball court as if you're at Venice Beach. Or you driving towards Nobu in Malibu. I need to see urgency. I need to see you out there I don't need to see you doing offers in the playoffs. You got 27 one game and 2 the next. I don't need all of that. I need a level of consistency from you and a level of urgency. That's what I'm talking about. I need to see those things, the parts around you, maximizing whatever little they have to bring to the table. That's all I'm asking for. And I don't think that's too much.
Stephen A., let me ask you this. How do you think the players in that locker room outside of LeBron James will respond to a first-time head coach?
Well, it depends on the coach. I think a first-time head coach like Sam Cassell, they'll respond very well. I think an experienced coach like a Mark Jackson or Jeff Van Gundy, they'll respond very well. I think JJ is a different situation because of the situation LeBron James and his camp created by doing that podcast in the middle of the season, knowing that Darvin Ham was on a hot seat. I don't care what anybody says. That was a very egregious thing to do. I'm not talking about the podcast. Wendy knows I'm not doing this. Wendy knows I'm not doing this. I'm not talking about the podcast itself. I'm talking about the timing. The Lakers get eliminated and then LeBron James and JJ do their podcast. It's no problem. This summer starts, they're doing their podcast. It's no problem. Darvin Ham was on the hot seat. And that's when LeBron James, in the middle of the season, decides to do a podcast with a brilliant cerebral basketball mind, and they're breaking down plays. They're talking plays. They're talking, am I lying, Wendy? They're talking plays. They're talking schemes. They're talking strategies. They're talking all of these things. Say what? You never seen what before, Wendy? Never seen what before?
I've never seen. I mean, this is a new thing I've never done in the NBA. What you're talking about, this podcast, never seen anything like it.
That's right. And props to them because it was Mavericks Carter. It was Mavericks Carter idea. He brought it to LeBron James, according to what my sources tell me. It wasn't LeBron James, but damn it, LeBron James is his own man. You're wearing a Lakers uniform. You are a player. You know your coach is on the hot seat, and deciding to do a podcast about games, about basketball with specifics in mind, schemes, and how you coach and how you draw plays up and what you should be doing, how you strategize, et cetera, while your coach is on a hot seat and you knew the Lakers would more than likely be looking for a coach next season, is one of the most egregious things we have seen a basketball player do to a coach.
I have to ask this. I know we need to go to break, but I need both of you to respond. Is it fair to characterize that as egregious, Andrea?
Them doing the podcast?
Yeah.
You're talking strategy. You're talking what you would do while another coach is in a hot seat. Like, I understand it, and maybe at the time they didn't think it would even matriculate to anything. I think it's just a basketball analyst talking to a basketball player. I think it looks worse now, but in the moment, I didn't think it was egregious. At the time when it was happening, I could just speak for myself. I didn't think it was.
Maybe I'm naive.
That bad of a.
Maybe I'm naive. I never thought that. I thought that this is the NBA, ESPN on the NBA's lead analyst talking to LeBron. I'm not saying that you're wrong, Stephen A. I would just say in the moment, it did not occur to me. Maybe I'm naive.
Hold on. In fairness to both of you, it didn't occur to me either when I heard about the podcast. Remember, we celebrated the fact that they were starting a podcast. Even on First Take, we were looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But then when you watched it and you saw the actual content and you knew that Darvin Ham was on a hot seat, I'm not talking about JJ Redick. He did nothing wrong. But I'm saying, I'm not talking about Maverick Carter. He did nothing wrong. You're LeBron James, and you're having that kind of conversation knowing your coach is on a hot seat?
But
you don't know how that comes across?
But Stephen A., you might think I'm being naive here, but what if that wasn't the intent at all whatsoever? It was just like an incredible basketball mind and the greatest player in the game getting together for a podcast. And then it materialized into that without the intent of I'm bringing him on to interview him to potentially be my new head coach.
Fair question. Here's the answer. so many roads to disaster have been paved with quote-unquote good intentions. We lament that on this show and every other show all the time. We can't sit up. I'm not trying to tell you that I know definitively that LeBron James had malice intent. I'm not accusing him of that. But at some point, if we speak to the brilliance of this man, him as a basketball savant, him recognizing his power, his impact, his influence, etc., one could easily surmise that he wasn't oblivious or clueless to the potential damage and impact it could have. And if that's the case, how do you then turn around and say, well, you know what? He really, really didn't know what was going on, and he really, really didn't imagine this. It's rare that we ever say that LeBron James didn't imagine, didn't foreshadow, didn't foresee anything. So why all of a sudden do we take that position now? That's all I'm saying.
But I'm just saying this could end up being a positive impact because it led them to finding their new head coach. Go ahead, Andrea.
Okay, that's fine. But I'm saying that somebody was fired and you knew they were on the hot seat and you did this before they were fired and they were still your coach. Damn. That's all. That's all.
My only point is, no matter what the intentions were with the podcast or what they were, as someone who's been a role player, I was a role player in college at best, you always watch how your coach handles the superstars. Always. You always keep an eye out because that lets you know maybe how the situation is unfolding. That lets you know the state of the team, how the coach treats your superstar. That situation is always magnified. It will be tenfold. I'm sure JJ Redick and LeBron James know this. It will be tenfold. It will be magnified to the 10th degree if JJ gets this head coaching job. And it's something they need to be aware of because things can seem great when you're on a podcast.
NBA